Good morning, everyone. This is the Monday, January 25th meeting of the Planning, Housing, and Economic Development Committee. And we are gathered here today to take up two items. The first item we were going to take up today, a zoning text amendment, we have postponed as a number of the stakeholders are continuing their conversations, and we will await the result from that. So we will proceed to what was going to be a second item, which is a zoning proposal from Councilmember Glass about composting. I'll kick it to Councilmember Glass to start us off, and then make some comments, and then we'll go to Jeff Zients to walk us through the packet.
Great. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and appreciate this conversation and appreciate the full support of all members of the council for their support in helping be creative in how we reduce the 147,000 tons of food waste that every year in Montgomery County, and taking a look at the way we have allowed composting, limiting it to 20% of off-site food and scraps, I don't think is viable any longer because the need is so great, and we are in a climate emergency, and we need to figure out creative strategies for protecting our environment and our waste stream. And so also just want to thank Councilmember Friedson, or because you're here, Councilmember Friedson, for being a co-lead and a great representative of a portion of the Ag Reserve, as well as Councilmembers Rice and Navarro for co-leads. But again, all council members are co-sponsors, and I'll turn it back to you.
Okay. Very good. As a council member at large who represents the entire Ag Reserve, I also am enthusiastic about working in this area. I'll turn it to Councilmember Friedson. Well, go ahead, Councilmember Friedson.
Thank you. I like that we're all fighting over who gets to say they represent the Ag Reserve, and we can share it because it is for the entire county and for the generations that will follow. Appreciate working with Councilmember Glass on this, along with our other district colleagues that represent the Ag Reserve. It's a really important issue, going from 20% to 50%. It's really a win-win. It's about the environment. It's about our farmers. It's about fulfilling what we set out to do, and that's really what this is. It's a common sense issue. I'm with Mr. Zients from his packet that this should be a record of seeing if we could prove it faster rather than less. But we can benefit our environment and support local businesses who are the foundation of the county's economy, and that's really what this allows us to do, and look forward to approval, getting it through the full council, and turning this important initiative into actual environmental benefit and support for our local farmers.
Very good. Jeff, why don't you describe this ETA? I'd like to ask if we have anybody from DEP on the call, or anyone who is sort of expert in the composting system and operations. I'm very interested to know what maybe the ag community will be able to answer this question, but what will this translate to? It's not very apparent to me from, zoning text code. What does this actually mean in terms of farm operations, and will this mean that they can then start producing a certain amount of compost that they can sell? Is this just for their own use? How much, if this becomes widespread, how much food waste do we think might be able to be absorbed into the system? How will it work? There's just a ton of questions that, because we're approving a zoning proposal, it isn't necessary to expand on all of those in order to decide whether it could be allowed in the zoning code. However, I think it's quite interesting, and it's, you know, relevant to why we would do that. So Jeff, do you have any, do you have anything for us on those questions?
I'll let Jeremy answer on the actual effects on farm production, but from the standpoint of retail sales, that could be an accessory use here or not, just like any other farm retail sales. There are some certifications that might accrue if you try to sell it, particularly dependent upon the type of waste you use in composting. But as a zoning matter, this is very simple, but I'll hand it over to Jeremy if he has something to say here.
Jeremy.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Sure can.
Jeremy Chris, Office of Agriculture. Thank you for having me here today. So Hans, the answer to your question is all of the above. We hope that the ZTA is going to provide opportunities for farmers to generate additional farm income through the sale of the final product, as well as use of the final product on the property as a soil amendment. As Jeff Sines just advocated, it's not a certification, it's basically a registration. If the farmer plans to sell the product to make money, they do have to register the product with the Maryland Department of Agriculture soil scientist as an approved soil amendment. And it has to be tested to make sure that it meets all of the standards to be a soil amendment that can be sold to generate income. Applying the final soil amendment to the property would be in accordance with the approved nutrient management plan that all farmers in the state that earn more than $2,500 a year in income or have more than 8 animal units where the animals are 1,000 pounds each, you have to have the nutrient management plan to reflect the application of these types of nutrients. So hopefully that answers your question there.
That does. So, but what this means is that presently you can, I suppose you can sell compost presently as an accessory to ag. However, you could only use the material that's pretty much on your own property. And, so for starters, that's the present situation?
Yes, it would be helpful to just review the history of what happened. In 2014, when the county updated the zoning ordinance, we took the existing definition of production of composting and mulch that was allowed as an accessory use to the farm, and that goes back to 1998. But what we did in 2014 is we came up with the 20% rule, and former council member Roger Berliner, he helped us with that. The Office of Agriculture, we partner with a number of agencies and organizations, and the Montgomery County Food Council was also helping us advocate and to promote opportunities for composting food scraps. So that's where it started in 2014 with the 20% rule. And as Council Member Glass alluded to, that really was a very, very low threshold, and we haven't had a lot of success with it. We're hoping that the 50% rule is going to get us to raise the bar on opportunities for composting, for generating income, and also using the soil amendment on the farms.
Okay, so to put this in more practical terms, it could be the county, or it could be a private company that might collect food waste from restaurants or from homes, and then they can take it to the farm. And do they sell it to the farmer, or do they pay the farmer to take it, first of all?
So there's a YouTube video on the Office of Agriculture's website that actually advocates what you're describing. 1 Acre Farm is owned by Michael Protus. He's entered into an agreement with Ben Perry, who owns the Compost Crew. So Ben has his operation set up on Michael's farm. Ben contracts with residents to come pick up their food scraps. Ben's trucks bring the material to the farm where it is mixed with other organic materials. They inject air into the pile to keep it an aerobic bacterial process as compared to anaerobic. Anaerobic is where you would have lots of very bad pathogens and viruses because there's no oxygen that's getting to the decomposition process. So it's a really cool video. I'd encourage you all to take a look at that. And so Ben Perry, he contracts with the residents to pick up the food scraps, and he composts them on Michael's farm. And so hopefully that helps answer your question there.
It does help. I mean, so I'm inferring you either don't know or you don't think it's appropriate to share whether Ben pays Michael or whether Michael gets the waste for free because he's willing to be a site for it. You know, either way, Ben has been running an operation that's been serving, you know, quite a few homes, and it is a model that, you know, I guess it's unclear whether the whole county could be covered by these kinds of models. But I guess under the 20% limitation, the amount that Michael can accept is relatively small. And so with this ZTA, he could accept more. Other farmers could accept more. And a company like Ben's could potentially have more local places to partner with.
So Ben and Mike have an agreement. I don't know the details of it,
Okay.
but there is a vision. We do hope that we establish additional locations on farms where Ben Perry's model can be applied. I'm not going to say that we're trying to put these facilities throughout the whole county, but we have to put them where they make the best sense. And the operation at One Acre Farm with Ben Perry and the compost crew is less than 5,000 square feet of space. And the reason for that is that if Ben would want to expand his operation on any one given property, once he goes over the 5,000 square feet threshold, he would be out of bounds with the Maryland Department of the Environment accessory farm composting definition and would have to get a permit through MDE to go above the 5,000 square feet. And that can be challenging. The Maryland Department of Environment regulations for food waste composting facilities is not something that is easy to achieve. So the thought here is that if we had smaller scale operations on several properties, that we could start to make headway on the 147,000 tons of food scraps that are generated annually. So that's what we're hoping to achieve.
Mr. Chair, if I could jump in. So I think the conversation is spot on. All your questions are right. And essentially what this ZTA does is it just unleashes the entrepreneur, the green environmental entrepreneur's ability to create new business models and ventures. And so your questions are right. I, quite frankly, haven't even dived into some of those nuances because it's not germane, right, to this. It's the simple fact of the ZTA will allow those conversations to happen.
Yep.
Yeah, this is a zoning matter that doesn't prescribe the business relationships between people. The state regulations are the state regulations. It doesn't propose to change those either. It's just a simple matter for the council here.
I would say it is germane, it's just not necessary. But as we are trying to decide whether we should do this, I think it helps to understand what the business models will be that we might potentially be opening the door to. And, you know, personally, I'm trying to understand how much of a solution for composting is this going to be? I mean, I think that's the big question.
And there are conversations in that I'm having with state lawmakers about that 5,000 square foot limit, right? And whether that needs to be expanded and whatnot. And so, again, however we are able to accommodate what we know is too much food scraps going into our waste system and fix that, let's do it.
Amen. And yeah, Jeremy.
So, Council Member Glass, I'm very encouraged to hear that you have started dialogue with state officials. One area that we definitely should look at is, can we keep the 5,000 square feet for the pad area, the all-weather pad area for the composting, and not have the area for the final product? The final product can be put someplace else, but not counted towards the 5,000 square feet limitation, because usually the finished product is put under roof so that you keep it from getting excessively wet.
Right.
And you want to sell it with the proper moisture content. So that would be the first step, in my view, to look at the state composting regulations, to have the 5,000 square feet only pertain to where the composting is occurring for the decomposition, but not also include the area for the final product.
The distinction you're making is essentially between production and storage, right? Right. And I'll certainly bring you into some of those conversations that we're having, of course.
Thank you.
I'm enthusiastic about this topic. I've been a lifelong composter. I was a weird kid. My parents started composting when I was probably about 6 or 7. And, it was almost a hobby to go back and turn it over and look at the red worms that were wriggling around in the pile and see how quickly, a melon rind would disappear. I also, now I'm in Tacoma Park and I do the curbside composting. And I have to say, it is a better model to do curbside, because it's a fact that compost does attract, rodents and things like that. And that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but I have found that to be able to put it in a bucket curbside is a much easier way for me. And I don't mind buying, $20-30 worth of already composted dirt from the county's leaf growth system, essentially for my gardening, and not to have to deal with the worry of, am I raising a colony of rodents or something like that. So I'm hopeful that we can expand curbside composting. The county executives talked a lot about shutting down the incinerator. We know that, and he pledged to do that by the end of his first term. We know that in order to do that, we must solve the composting issue. It is a massive source of the waste stream that there's no reason to be burning it. We can easily compost it. But in order to do that, we got to have facilities. And there's been a long-running conflict in the Dickerson Sugarloaf area about the use of county-owned land for composting. And I hope the county executive is serious about what he wants to do and is willing to tackle that issue. In the meantime, we have, I think, here a combination of opportunities. We could see our way there, I think, through a scattered site model that this might allow at a smaller scale, frankly, and then a larger scale facility or two, on a big piece of county land. And then you put it all together and you might be able to actually have a countywide curbside composting program. So, this is an important provision, and until the macro issue of large county sites is resolved, this is this may be, well, maybe there's other sites, but this is an important step to take. So glad you brought it forward, Evan. Thank you. Any other comments? All right. Well, we have a proposal. I haven't heard any need for amendments. So we will move the proposal, and all those in favor, raise your hand. And Evan, you can't vote, but I know you're voting. All right. So we'll dispense with this item. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. On to the next. Good morning, Gene. Thank you, Jeff. Goodbye.
Good morning.
All right. So our next item is a catalog and review of the county's business assistance programs. Thank you, Gene, for pulling this together. I really felt like it was important for us to have all this information in one place and kind of keep it going as we proceed. I think we really need to assess whether we've done enough and whether we can do more. I think that's kind of one of the objectives of pulling it all together, as well as to compare what we've done in this area to other areas of pandemic response. I know Councilmember Friedson has done a ton of work in this area, and we thank him for that. I'm sure he'll have some comments. I think it's timely to have this conversation as we are once again, in the midst of a shutdown of indoor dining, which is really hurting a lot of restaurants once again. And, I'm very worried that many of them aren't going to make it, that they kind of limped to the finish line, or I shouldn't say, because we don't know where the finish line is, but they limped this far. And then without indoor dining, they are kind of dying by the roadside. Partly want to assess our ability to do additional assistance, but before doing that, really trying to get a comprehensive sense of what we've done and, how effective we think it is and so forth. Again, thank you, Gene, for pulling it all together. And Andrew, welcome your comments.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact that we're having this conversation. Thanks for organizing it. Thank you to Mr. Smith for all of your efforts here and for all of your work. It's been a challenge. I know we've been had a lot going on in the county. We're doing as best as we can to keep up with it. And I am, despite the fact that I don't think we've done enough, I'm proud of what we have done. The council stepped up immediately with the Public Health Emergency Grant Program. As one of the more significant local relief programs in the county. I wish it could have done more. I wish it could have done more for the businesses it helped. I wish it could have done more for more businesses. I wish it could have gotten out faster. And we've subsequently moved forward with a number of other programs, some of which are, are county funded, some of which have been federal funded, some of which have been state funded, some of which have been county administered, some of which have been Mcedc administered. We've had a lot of partners with that. I did want to acknowledge that the executive branch, and I see Mr. Fletcher, Ms. Boyer have joined us, and Ms. Miller from Mcedc have joined us. But we've been asking a lot of folks to do a lot of things that they've never really been asked to do in a time frame that they've never really been asked to do it. And I have been as demanding as anybody, I will readily admit. And I think our local businesses desperately need that. But I did want to acknowledge that, we weren't really set up to take on all of this. And a lot of people have stepped into to new roles, and just wanted to acknowledge and appreciate that. It won't change that I will continue to push on behalf of businesses and residents that we need to do more, we need to do it faster, and we need to do it better. But a lot of work has been done, and a tremendous amount of effort has gone in to making these happen. It hasn't always been smooth sailing. I also appreciate the fact that Mcedc has stepped up in a number of areas to help us get through some of this as well, and has really done a good job administering this. That was a core competency I'm not sure that any of us, including perhaps even Mcedc, was aware of, in terms of, being a grant organization, and has really shown a competency there, which I really appreciate. I do think the big question is what comes next. We have to figure out how we did what we did and how we can improve how we did it. And then we're going to have to do more. We have the restaurant relief package, the next iteration of that, coming with state money that Mcedc has thankfully agreed to take on again, like they did the last tranche of that money. Those will be $10,000 grants as well. But again, it's not enough. I mean, $10,000 is a lot, but it doesn't replace the indoor dining that is lost. And so we have to acknowledge that as well. And I think we have to temper how we talk about these to recognize that, we're providing a modest level of relief to people who are desperately struggling. And I think we have to really appreciate that. So I'd like to dive into the, to the details here. I have a number of questions, specifically on different programs that have come up here. The one like broad picture aspect, there wasn't a lot of demographic data in what we received, so I hope we can acknowledge that. It's available in a few programs, I think most of which are Mcedc programs, including women-owned and minority-owned businesses, zip code data, et cetera. We've talked about that a lot. There's a lot of, questions on where this funding is going and who it's helping. I know that has been a big concern and priority for the county executive. In fact, it's one of the reasons why many of these programs have slowed down, is in order to try to direct it. I've been critical of I think you got to be able to walk and chew gum, on those issues. So I just wanted to, dive in a little bit onto the demographic piece and, whether or not we do have that, when we will have that, how we will be able to analyze that, because I think that's a really important part of this conversation. And last, I just want to, Ms. Lamarzi has, our Inspector General has put together a really good report on the Public Health Emergency Grant program. I will say, I think it really dove into some of the issues that we had been raising throughout the process, and really provides us with an important significant analysis of how to improve that. Obviously, that was propped up quickly and without the administration that was really set up in order to do it. But I think that report will really be a good roadmap for moving forward, and I think we'll address some of the frustrations and challenges that we all had as that was happening, and some of the mistakes that we all can acknowledge occurred and can be built upon and improved upon. So I just wanted to acknowledge and thank you for that. So I'll yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. I to your point, I hate to say it, but we ought to come out of this with a report that can sit on a shelf with recommendations for how to handle future pandemic emergency grants. There are a lot of lessons learned here, and I just wonder, where will those lessons be written down? Not really a question for today, but it's an enormous task to try to dispense with such a large volume of money in a way that does not use funds in any inappropriate manner, and yet meets important policy goals. Like, that is just a monster operation, and it's not easy. And so figuring out how to do that has been a challenge, and we've got a lot of lessons learned. So we have many of our partners here. Maybe I'll ask Gene, do you have a recommendation as far as how we proceed through the packet and comments from our partners?
Sure, and if you don't mind, I'll just also thank not only my colleagues on the executive side, but my colleagues at Mcedc, who did a lot of work, not only implementing these programs, but working with me to at least provide the information for this. And I know that there's only a few of them here today. There was teams of both sides, for the executive and for the Mcedc, that did this, not just the members here, and they can share that when they get there. And to your point, Mr. Reamer, this report is kind of an initial foray into this conversation. There's a lot of data. There's still a lot of data being collated to some degree, because these programs were just wrapping up in some instances as December was closing. So council staff stands prepared to continue to work with our partners and other agencies as we need to continue to work on this. My recommendation is to go through the program by program as council staff provided it. I can do a quick summary of what information was provided, hand it over to whichever team worked on it and implemented it, to let them speak a few minutes on it, and then we can ask questions about those programs. That seems to be the easiest way to move through it, so that we don't get bogged down in the whole overview. But certainly I welcome any comments from the PHED committee in terms of how you want to proceed.
That makes sense. I hate to ask the CEO of Mcedc to be patient for a few minutes, but if there's anything that anybody wants to say of great importance, we can certainly make a moment for that. But otherwise, let's proceed in through the packet, and then we'll take up issues as they come.
Very good. Well, Certainly, and another thing I'll say is we have a lot of programs. Council staff did the best to find the ones that were directly related to business assistance, but certainly don't want to sell this as a complete comprehensive list. I'm sure we'll find other programs that also directly benefited businesses from this time, and we can add them to the list as we go through. I believe Table 1 provides the kind of overview of all the information available in this report for the programs, both total of funding available through business assistance programs for all the different programs we initiated. And as both Councilmember Reamer and Councilmember Friedson shared, I mean, the county stood up a lot of new programs in a very short order to benefit businesses and provide assistance during this time. And more than $45 million has gone out. Now, most of that money has come either through the CARES Act or the state funding. Very little county dollars, general fund dollars went into this, even though some of the appropriations initially marked general fund reserves because we didn't know when the CARES Act was going to be here and what the eligibility was going to be. But to council staff's understanding, but we'll continue to dot the I's and cross the T's, almost all of this money is come through CARES Act or the state in order to provide business assistance during this time. So with that, I'll just go ahead and jump into the Public Health Emergency Grant Program, which was the first program the county stood up, and it was a sponsored legislation by Mr. Friedson and the whole council during the time. This provided direct assistance for businesses that had negative impact or loss of revenue during the time. There was an executive regulation that implemented the bill. Council staff provides a summary of the eligibility criteria, as well as the priority consideration that were both in the bill and the executive regulation on pages 2 and 3. Ultimately, over 6,700 businesses applied for this in a very short period of time, about 10 days. And then the county's finance and our business advancement team worked tirelessly with many, many people to not only review those applications, but ultimately award close to 2,300 or more than 2,300 of businesses received assistance through this program, totaling almost $21 million. So I will stop there and see if Mr. Fletcher or Ms. Boyer have anything they want to add for this program. And then if council members have questions, we can answer those.
Thanks, Gene. I won't speak for Ms. Boyer, but we're happy to answer any questions. I think you summarized it pretty well. Just here to answer questions if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrew.
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot since this initial public health emergency grant program. This was really the first big undertaking that the county took on. I think it was a heavier lift than was anticipated and had to be worked through. I think one of the challenges that we had on this that I wanted to acknowledge, and I think Ms. Lamarzi's report speaks to this as well, is that we didn't set up all the rules and stick to them in the beginning, and so it made it very difficult to administer for the staff on the executive branch side and very difficult to understand from business side. So I think certainly we were building the plane as we were flying it, and that created some chaos. There were competing interests. I will note that one of the big concerns that the county executive had, and one of the reasons why some of the changes were being made, some of it was related to administration and time of administration and ability to administer, but a lot of it was an understandable concern that the county executive had of making sure that smaller businesses had the ability to compete for these grant funds along with bigger businesses. Some council members raised that concern as well. And I just wanted to note that 85% of the awardees had 10 or fewer employees, according to this report. Is that accurate? So I see a nod from Ms. Boyer.
That's correct. Yeah, no, that's correct. Most of the majority of the recipients of PHED grant awards had 10 or fewer employees. So this really did reach the very small business community, and I think provided a lot of great assistance for some of those small businesses.
Mr. Fletcher.
And Councilman Friedson, when you say larger businesses, it was only open to small businesses and nonprofits. So, it was limited to the size of the businesses, so not to the largest of businesses. But there was a question within those large businesses of would the 10 or fewer business, or would the the 50 plus, the 50 person business with 50 full-time employees or up to 100 full-time employees, would they be able to be more likely to get funding than the smaller, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 person employee? The county executive felt very strongly about that. He, tried to put in a number of guardrails in order to protect that. And I'm only pointing out that, some suggested that we should just try to get the money out as quickly as possible because, particularly the smallest businesses, they need it faster the most. They're the ones who need the money most desperately. And so if we delay it, the people who would be hurt the most are the smallest businesses who we want to protect as well. And I just pointing out, and I think it's important to note as we look for the future, I'm not trying to be critical to the past, but as we look to the future, because it is an important concern. But as we raise these issues of efficiency and equity, in terms of making sure that, the smaller businesses get connected, we need to do our job of communicating. And I think, relatively did well here, as noted in the numbers. But the efficiency is the critical piece. The delay is a critical piece. And so I just wanted to point that out, that the sensitivity, while important, the numbers bear out that the process did allow those businesses that we were most concerned about, and many raised concerns, and wanted to, create it. So for that reason, not having as many, administrative guardrails and not guardrails, because protections are important, but not having as administrative hurdles, which make it harder for the county staff to administer, more difficult for the businesses to apply for, slow down the process significantly, and don't add protection of taxpayer dollars, which is important, but just, are not necessarily, where the focus necessarily should be. That's the point that I was trying to make, and the numbers bear that out. That was a back and forth discussion. It feels like years ago, but several months back, of this big existential question on these programs. And I just wanted to point out that the numbers, which is a positive story, the numbers show that 85%, 10 or fewer employees, that's a great number. And so as we, do these programs, as long as we are ensuring that people are aware of them, the access to apply for them exists. And so we should make it easier, not harder. We should get the money out sooner, not slower. So I just wanted to note that and raise that, because I think it's important.
Any comments on that? All right.
I also like to note that Ms. Lamarzi is on the line. Should council members have any questions actually specifically related to her and her team's report. And if not, I know that, like everyone, she may have other things to do. So I just wanted to acknowledge not only her great work, but that she is available should the council members have questions.
Yeah. Well, we're glad she did that, Ms. Lamarzi. We're glad it was necessary for you to watch over this in great detail, and there's a lot of lessons learned. There was such a conflict here between speed and efficacy, and it was really a big challenge. Anything you'd like to share with us, Megan?
Good morning. It's nice to see you. I will just say, as with any new program, there's inherent risks that come with that to the county. So the newness of this program, coupled with the speed at which it needed to get done, really were a combination of factors that encouraged us to take a look and see how the program was administered. We did not only put out a report, but a lessons learned document, and the administration has been quick to share that and put that out with all of the department directors, and are making efforts that I've been able to watch to really incorporate those lessons learned. And so I think that is a big win to come out of this process as well. And there's still a lot of work to do, of course. And I just want to comment for 1 second again, and we've mentioned it in the report, but the outreach efforts in this program were substantial. And my staff did speak with Daniel Caroma, and he really made great efforts to get to those communities that really needed this assistance. And so I would be remiss if I didn't take just 1 second and really give him the kudos he deserves for that outreach. And I thank you, as always, for your support. I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have at any time.
Thank you. He was the right man for the moment. You know, Daniel Caroma is a community organizer, and the job here was an organizing job to reach out and build a network or strengthen the network that he was already building. So, yeah, thank you for that. So just before you depart, at whatever point you want to follow up on this, let's ask Jean if you could please talk to Olo, and I suppose Ms. Lamarzi in the loop about a kind of follow-up report, lessons learned and best practices. No rush, but a deeper dive to have something that is there, not quite a manual, but just a review, so that in the future, there'll be something there to guide us in the future. Mr. Friedson.
Yeah, Ms. Lamarzi kind of said it better than I did, which is not surprising. But I think it speaks to what I was saying earlier, that the real critical aspect here was to make the process as simple, straightforward, and consistent as possible. And the way to prioritize ensuring that the folks that we wanted to apply for this and be eligible for this, and or know that they were eligible for this and have access to it, was to do the outreach, was to make sure that we were getting out there, and that happened. So that was, of all the positive things that happened, it wasn't by setting up restrictions and creating new bureaucracies and making it more more challenging with what businesses had to show and prove and qualify under. It happened through outreach, and you expand the net as broadly as possible. You make sure as many people know it as possible, and then you provide the funding in the fairest way possible. And it turns out it works out pretty well, as long as you're committed to do the outreach. And certainly Daniel Caroma is the best example of it. There are many people. We had lots of partners. I know Mr. Fletcher and the chambers were on dozens and dozens of webinars and calls and others. And, I don't think we could list off as many people within county government and beyond county government that worked on that. But to me, that is the model. Make it as simple as possible, as straightforward as possible. Make the rules, stick to the rules, and then spend all of your effort not arguing and deciding on how you make rules to carve out different groups that you want to prioritize, but how do you spend your energy making and building the relationships and getting the communication out so that folks know how to apply, and if they have issues, they have a place to go to in order to resolve the problems they have access. To me, that is the biggest story that clearly, the clear takeaway from the PHED program. And it is borne out in the numbers. It's borne out in Ms. Lamarzi's report. It's borne out, the deeper you look, the clearer, it is. And I just think that, I don't want to lose that big takeaway from this for as we move forward, since these aren't going to be the last grant programs we do in this emergency or moving forward.
Good points. All right, let's keep going.
All right. And I'll just note that, Mr. Reamer, I took down your request. Council staff will work with the Office of Inspector General and Office of Legislative Oversight to figure out how to make that work in a longer term project. And the last theme for the PHED program, I'll just note that given some of the time I think that the executive side has had to process the information, there was an infographic for this on Circle 52 of the report, which has a lot of the demographic information that Mr. Friedson spoke about. Council staff did the best to get as much as we could for this report, but I believe there's probably more, given more time, there's probably more information we can squeeze out of each of these programs, but wanted to note that at least for zip code and other data that is available for this program on Circle 52. So if we're done with the PHED program, I'll move on to Reopen Montgomery. So. Okay. Very good. Well, the Reopen Montgomery, unlike the PHED program, was just done through a council resolution. It was also implemented by the county, and it was designed to assist businesses and reopening expenses, providing a maximum award of up to $10,000 based on actual.
I just want to, can I interrupt you real quick? The maximum award for reopen is actually $5,000.
Correct. Thank you.
So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Apologize. A lot of programs. Even as I said it, I was like, that's not right. This program was open for much longer than the PHED program. It was open between the end of July to December based on applications. The county did a random lottery on like first come, first serve for the PHED program. And they're still processing some, so this data was as of mid-January when the executive staff provided this information. I think we'll have some final details here momentarily. But more than almost 1,000 businesses received assistance under this program for a total of close to $3.2 million. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Fletcher and Ms. Boyer if they have anything more specific to add.
Laura, you got anything to add? Otherwise, we'll go to questions.
No, I mean, only if they have any questions. We are actually closing out the reopen program now and should have final data on that hopefully next month. We'll have everything closed out and everything paid out. So,
as it says in the packet, one qualification for this program was that you hadn't received funding under PHED. Is that right?
You could have received funding under PHED, but you weren't allowed to use the reopen funds to reimburse you for something that you had already received PHED funds to pay for.
Gotcha.
So you could receive both. You just had to attest that you weren't going to use it for the same expense that you had already been reimbursed for.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which probably wasn't hard to show.
Correct.
And just real quick, I'll add that the primary reason for that is because we were using CARES funding, and that had specific eligibility and payment requirements. For example, if the county had just used its own funding, those requirements would have been very different, and we could have provided duplicate payments, so to speak, not for the same expenses, but it would have been a little easier in terms of making sure that they weren't going to the exact same payments.
Okay. Andrew.
Thanks. So this one has been an interesting one for me. And we've had a lot of conversations about this and trying to determine why more businesses that were eligible didn't apply. I mean, I think one of the interesting things here is that, healthcare and medical services actually was the highest number of applicants, not, restaurants and retail and some of the others that we would have more likely thought would have been, although it wasn't restricted to those businesses. Certainly, I think 196 of the healthcare and medical services versus 149 of restaurants and food service. About 3.2 million awarded, 14 million was allocated, although we took back, effectively took back 5 million to use for other business purposes. So really, I think effectively it was 9 million. It's probably a more accurate statement. But what do we think the issue was? Was the outreach not quite there because we had so many other things to do outreach on, so we couldn't do the targeted outreach for this like we could for PHED, because that was really the only grant program that was out there? Did this take too long to get up and running, that businesses that were eligible had already reopened months before, and they saw reopen and they weren't really thinking that they were eligible for that because they had done that so much previously? Was the 5,000 number not high enough? Was the rolling lottery too confusing? What do we think the main aspects of this were the uptake of this particular grant program was not where we would have liked to see it, or where we might have expected to see it?
So we got almost as many applications for reopen as we did for PHED, about 1,000 fewer, but
over like 4.5 months as opposed to over a couple weeks.
Well, and I think part of it is, so this program launched in the summer. And so I think people were actually taking time off over the summer, even though it was an odd pandemic time to do that. So we did find that many people were out of town, may not have heard about it. And honestly, at that point, I believe there was grant application fatigue had set in because there were so many federal programs they were applying for, state programs they were applying for, and local programs. And I think people just got confused about, what they had applied for and what, had they already done this or not. And so I think that's part of it, is there's confusion on part of the business community just because there were so many different avenues for them to apply to try to receive the assistance. But the other challenge that we've seen with Reopen is because this is specifically a reimbursement program, a lot of folks didn't have receipts. And that's how this one was set up, was to actually provide reimbursements based on actual physical receipts. And a lot of people were unable to provide documentation, had some challenges trying to provide the documentation required. But I mean, we did outreach on this like we had done for PHED, but not to the extent that we had done. So we didn't have, as you mentioned, Daniel Caroma had done webinars a couple of times a week for a couple of months, as PHED was going on. We did webinars when Reopen was launched as well, but there were fewer attendees at the webinars, and we didn't do as many as we had done for PHED. But I mean, we certainly continue to do outreach, and we are going to end up awarding about $8 million in Reopen grants when all is said and done. So, while it was longer and went over a longer period of time, I still think we can say it was a successful program, and there will be thousands of small businesses who receive assistance through the program.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, Lori, I was going to say a couple of things that you weaved in there. One about the program being a success based on the volume that it held and the volume of money that we did get out the door. But I think also we have to understand and remember that businesses had to make a choice. Were they able to reopen? There were going to be a lot of businesses that were not in the position when this grant was offered to reopen at that time. We had restrictions on the capacity levels at that time, which just didn't make it feasible or make sense for them to make money or to even buy the things, like Lori said, on a reimbursement basis that would get them to the point of them believing that they could have the sustained business in order to be profitable, break even, or however you want to put it. So, and with the volume of grants that are out there, no one should be apologizing for the volume of grants. Getting business financial relief is a tricky situation to navigate. Like Councilman Friesen said, we heard from many of our constituents about how difficult it was to navigate their way through the different programs. And let me say that a little slower. We heard about the problem people were having to get money. So that is a good problem for people to have. And we tried to help as many as we could, as fast as we could. But to me, and I believe the county executive would say the grant process for Reopen was a success. And gratefully, we were able to siphon some of that money off to another program at the same time.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and just to be clear, I wasn't intending to be overly critical on this, and feel like we did have a good partnership in trying to work through the challenges here. I do think it's just helpful to think through for moving forward of what didn't happen. I will say this does speak to the fact that consolidating our grant efforts as best as we can is probably a model that we should try to do moving forward, where even if there are different grants for different businesses, launching them together, and doing the outreach together to say, okay, if you're this type of business, here's what you are eligible for. If you're that type of business, here's what you're eligible for. I think with the PHED, it was pretty clear. I mean, people were frustrated, based on certain aspects of it and timing and other things, but they knew, it was pretty clear, once we settled on how you qualified and what the application was going to be. Once the other grants came in, I do think it did get confusing for folks, and we're not alone in this either. There's the county, there's the state, there's the feds.
There might even be some foundations that, were participating in some of this, and these are not grant writing organizations. These are businesses, some of them very small businesses that don't do this for a living. I heard from many people to say, I serve customers, we hire an accountant who handles all of that stuff. That's not what we do. I didn't go into business to do that type of thing. And so, again, I just to be clear, not a criticism necessarily, but just constructive discussion. I wouldn't even call it feedback, but discussion on, what do we do here? Because, I will say this was my proposal that I had, put forward, and some aspects of it worked and some aspects of it didn't. Some aspects of it were, perhaps related to how it was set up on our end, some about how it was administered on yours. All of it was in a chaotic tornado of information that folks were trying to navigate through. And so I just think it's helpful for all of us to think through, what we, could and should do differently next time. But I share with you that while not perfect and, frustrating at times, $8 million to businesses that desperately need it is a positive. And, I don't want to lose sight of that either. And you and your team have done a lot of work to navigate through all of those applications and get that 8 million out, which is not an easy thing to do. So I just wanted to note that as well. Thanks.
And you as well, Andrew. It's been a major focus for you all year, and it's been needed. I think we really appreciate the way you've taken the lead on this in so many ways. So, Jerome.
Councilman Ringer, thank you. I just want to say that as well. The executive branch and the council branch working together, Councilman Friedson was involved in every single meeting and every single conversation of every single grant that our team had to do with. And he's right, it was a chaotic tornado at times, but he was there at the table every single time. So regardless of what we think about or what happened or the results of it, we definitely want to thank him for his partnership. His reaches more than multiple times of reaching out of how to solve X problem and how do we do it, which is coming up in some of the other grants that we're going to mention as well. So on behalf of the county executive, we do want to thank him for his partnership on all of his efforts during these troubling times.
Kumbaya. Sincerely. All right. Good. Well, let's keep going.
All right. The next one is the Tourism Anchor Institution Grant Program. This one, it starts on about page 6 of the report for anyone who listens to this later or is reading along. This one was a later addition to the programs, and it was a more targeted program for specific anchor institutions that are related to tourism in the county. As you can see on page 6, it had very specific eligibility criteria, both related to attendance, what the business did, and whether or not it received public support for capital or operating expenses. The report, finance, or I should say executive staff did provide the final report for this. About 22 businesses applied and 14 businesses received it. Given the targeted nature, that's probably the primary reason that the average funding for this program was much higher compared to the other ones, which was a much more broad-based, or the other programs which were more broad-based, looking at more businesses across the county. Other than that, it was a $5 million program, and all $5 million was expensed for, or will be expensed for businesses related to this program. And then with that, I'll turn it back over to or let the executive staff if they have anything they want to share at.
Executive staff, you want to share anything? And I see Andrew has raised his hand, so he'll follow you.
For this one, I'll just say, Laura, I'm not sure if you have a comment, but for this one, I will say it was very targeted. It was designed to help out, those specific venues who needed it the most. This industry had been closed and still remains closed for the most part since last March, and they were just not in the first or second phase of reopening. So the ability to help these businesses was very much needed, and it took a while for us to get it to them, but I know that they were grateful once they got it. And we're happy that we were able to provide them some relief at this point, and hopefully some more will be on the way for that industry that has been decimated by the pandemic.
Andrew.
Yeah, thank you for that. First of all, I just, some of these have been challenged. This was probably the most efficient, best run program that existed. I got no complaints from anybody on this, and got a number of organizations that literally called me and said we were getting ready to figure out how we were going to have to close down and have those uncomfortable conversations with board members and with staff, and now we don't have to do that. And the level of emotion in those conversations was just mind-boggling. And these are some organizations that are some of the most important businesses, most important placemaking organizations, most important community centered organizations in the county. And so I just can't overstate the importance of this in this effort. So I want to acknowledge that. Obviously, it's apples to oranges to compare something like this to a broad-based public thing like reopening grants, and it's unfair to say why couldn't you have done that for this or this for that. Totally different. But while easier to administer, nothing is easy to administer, and this was administered very, very well in a very tight time frame. So I just want to thank you for that. This program never would have happened without Kelly Groff and Visit MoCo, who was a hand in glove partner with the county on this. Tina Benjamin and along with Mr. Fletcher and Kelly Groff and I had a lot of conversations on this, and it would not have happened without the hospitality work group that the county executive deserves credit for putting together. I, as Mr. Fletcher noted, have sat in on just about every one of the work groups related to economic recovery for the last 6 months or so since they have been in inception. And some meetings are more challenging than others, and understandably, since most of the organizations that are involved in that particular work group have been shut down entirely or mostly, those were the most challenging and not an easy conversation to have. And they came up with the idea, which ultimately led to this program, and they really deserve, I believe, the credit for willing it to reality and making sure that it took place. You all deserve, the executive branch deserves credit for administering a good program, but they deserve credit, I believe, for the fact that the program took place. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledged that here and just say this is one example that it was handled very well. And it does show that targeted support is easier to administer and can be extremely effective to save some of the most iconic and important organizations in the county. And so as we look at kind of the broad takeaway, that is a lesson for later, I think, of figuring out, okay, what are our most important priorities for the community and for the county and for our economy, and how do we provide the type of targeted, efficient, effective support that will save jobs, that will save landmark institutions, and will protect the county's investment, because a big part of this as well was that the organizations received significant amount of operating or capital support. And so this was an opportunity for the county to make sure that organizations that had been closed for long duration of the downturn and of this public health emergency did not go out of business, where the county would lose its investment. I mean, we're shareholders, so to speak. We're investors in these organizations and institutions, and I think the county did a really good job in making sure that we protect the taxpayers' investment in these important institutions.
Yes, indeed. This was a good program, easy to administer, big impact. All right.
Very good. For the next series of programs, I'm just going to list them all because we're kind of nearing the tail end for the county administered or implemented programs, I should say, but wanted to just note them for comprehensive sake. The next one was the medical and dental practice grants. As noted in the packet, the Health and Human Services Committee for the Council reviewed this one given the health implications for this grant. Again, Council staff included the information for this report kind of based on, as Mr. Rivers suggested, to have a one-stop shop for all the information that we did. But again, the HHS committee will continue to review the implementation and effectiveness of this particular program but the county did provide roughly $2.5 million to medical and dental practices due to COVID-19 and economic loss during their shutdown time. The next one is the Maryland Technology Council Business Continuity Task Force. This wasn't direct business assistance, but it was a technical assistance program handled by the Tech Council of Maryland to again help businesses pivot, especially life science and tech businesses. There's no additional information yet for that program, but again, it was one related for business support, et cetera, due to COVID-19. And then finally, the last two programs, and before I'll pause to see if there's any questions for council members on these, was the Arts COVID one, which also goes through the Education and Culture Committee, but does support businesses or artists in the county. That one is still being implemented, but there's early information for that. And then the last one I'll mention is the Micro Enterprise Stabilization Program, which was administered by the Department of Housing and Community Affairs for the county. This was a community block grant, federal COVID-19 related grant for very specific small businesses in the county. And about $1.1 million was administered for 176 businesses in that one. So there's not a significant amount of data for those last two yet, but again, council staff wanted to include it as we were getting into this foray. So I'll pause there before we move on to MCDC's programs.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously the Tech Council was one that I proposed, and we'll get an update at PHED, sometime in the next month or two, I think, just to find out about the impact there. I think we've been hearing good reports so far. And so you can't yet create a kind of a spreadsheet on the other ones. Okay, good. Well, let's move into MCEDC.
Very good. So as noted at the beginning, given the number and volume of programs the county was attempting to implement, we also relied on our Economic Development Corporation partners to help administer some of these programs, given the capacity of our finance and executive side team. So the next series of programs are ones that MCEDC implemented for the county on behalf of the county. The first one we'll go into is the Local Production Fund. This was a $100,000 appropriation from the county that was matched by another $100,000 from the EDC of their own funding. And this one is again, like all programs are unique. This one specifically was designed to help manufacturers and small business manufacturers in the county pivot to create PPE or other COVID-19 related items. It wasn't specifically an assistance program in the sense of trying to cover losses or reopening expenses. It was capital costs to help pivot for that. And so the EDC has provided information on Circle 76, really far down in the report on this. And they were able to assist 25 businesses in that process. But I'll turn it over to Mr. Wu and his team if they want to add more information about the Local Production Fund.
Thank you, Gene. And also thank you, Mr. Chairman, and also Councilman Friesen for holding this hearing. Let me say that for the EDC, we're pleased to be a part of any efforts that will help businesses get to the other side of this crisis. And we work very closely with the county executive and the executive team led by Jerome Fletcher, Lori Boyer, and of course, Tina Benjamin when she was still part of the county. And also the county council for the support that you've given. We appreciate the work that we've done together. This is a team effort. When we were asked to conduct these programs on behalf of the county, we were asked by the county executive to take on the administration of both the Telework Assistance Fund and also the Restaurant Relief Grants in both iterations. And thus far, we provided $10 million, over $10 million of business assistance grants, and it will increase to 15 once we complete the phase 2 of the Restaurant Relief Grant. And so, this really is a team effort, and we're pleased to be a part of it. As you had mentioned, Mr. Chairman, this is a difficult situation for businesses, and so trying to do all we can to assist businesses recover and to respond back to the pandemic is critical. The Local Production Fund is actually one of the programs that I'm most proud of. It's a very small, modest program, only $200,000, but what it represents is so significant to me because it shows a collaboration between our organization, MCDC, and the county. But it also evolved from a need that was very pressing back just a little over a year ago at the very start of the pandemic. And that was that Montgomery County, Maryland, as a state, and the nation, we were facing critical shortages of PPE. And as we tried to address the concerns and issues of the global pandemic health crisis. And there was a great need to go out and procure all of this PPE from around the world. And what we saw was that there were Montgomery County companies that were willing to stand up and say, hey, I can help because I'm shut down right now, or my main operations can't operate currently as it has. So I can pivot to help provide assistance to try to help with the local PPE supply. And so after consultations with both of you, and also recognizing that we had within the MCDC an existing network of small manufacturers, then we were able to craft this relatively modest program in which MCDC put $100,000 forward with match by the county. And so then we were able to create a program to help these small manufacturers step up. And I think symbolically it's very important because it shows a local responsibility, a community support, and ultimately we were able to try to at least help abate this desire or need for PPE supply at a critical time when we needed to do so. Let me recognize Sarah Miller, who is the brainchild of this program. Sarah has worked very closely with a small manufacturer network. And so we were able to, with your consultation and help, able to tap into this network and to be able to create this program that met this immediate need.
Sarah.
Good morning.
Welcome.
We're so happy to talk about this project. And I know Councilman Reamer, we had many discussions early on that was basically they were born out of frustration because we had so many capable folks trying to figure out how to help satisfy this need. And this, again, I think the term chaos or chaotic tornado has been used a lot. And that certainly was the case early on. Really quickly, first of all, we're happy to send you, we have recently completed a report about this that doesn't just talk about the dollar amounts, but it also talks about what we've learned from this activity. As you know, we had a wide variety of small and medium-sized businesses, some who had done some manufacturing before, some who changed and decided to learn about it. We have 73% of our awards went to women and minority-owned companies of all different sizes. Our smallest award was $2,500. Our largest award was $25,000. But really, I think what it shows is the vast capability of our small companies. We had some that used this funding to kind of launch their own online mask making piece. We had some bigger companies that used the money to really strengthen their infrastructure so that they could produce more. We even helped a farmer and then to increase socially distant drops in his CSA. And one interesting piece is a company, and I think they're in Andrews District, that started actually a few years ago at Bethesda Green as an incubator company, has grown, and then they changed from soap making into industrial cleaner, and they have gotten some wholesale distribution partnerships now. So that's really, it's such a great project to show the growth of these small manufacturing, and certainly we couldn't have done it without our small manufacturing study that we did about a year ago, where we had done a lot of outreach. And so I think this points to the importance of networks, again, which has been talked about many times today. And the stronger our network is of small businesses and medium-sized businesses, the better we're able to, as a community, kind of withstand tremendous challenges like a pandemic and things of that nature. So I will stop talking now. We thank you for your support. We'll send out the reports to you. Oh, I do want to, wait, I can't stop. I do want to talk about one other thing related to this. And this was what our team did a great job of, which was connecting the dots of all of these different types of funding streams. So for example, when we knew that our local manufacturers who received these awards would benefit from better business-to-business contacts, we were able to develop a brochure, send it to larger businesses, and encourage them to buy from the local production fund, being reimbursed by Reopen. And so in that way, we were able to help people understand that they could use funding, but then also support the local economy. And now I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, great work. I was really so happy by the success that you had in administering it. Really a compliment to, I think, the whole mission of MCEDC and the value of having a independent nonprofit economic development corporation. You know, it was just, as Ben said, I thought it was just a terrific moment of success. You know, my own personal interest in this grew from urging the community to start wearing masks long before there were mandates, to start making masks, and the incredible response of hundreds of people who wrote to me saying, I've got sewing machines, you know, I want to start making masks. Is there a network that we can work with? And MCEDC stepped into that maelstrom with, you know, connections and then ultimately funding to help businesses pivot. And so it was a awesome success. And of course, the allocation of funding to businesses that might otherwise, you know, the high share of women and minority-owned businesses was, you know, just made it all the sweeter. So thank you for that great work. Andrew.
Yeah, could you, Ms. Miller, could you say those numbers again? You packed in a lot of information very quickly. I think the biggest takeaway of this program was that number. So women-owned and minority-owned businesses that received funding, could you share those?
Yep.
I just want to make sure everybody catches that, because I think that is probably the biggest takeaway from this.
Yeah, 73% of our awards went to women and minority businesses. And we'll email you after this, the kind of final report.
Yeah, terrific. So first of all, Chair Reamer was the big champion on this one. So I must give him credit for that, along with MCEDC, who really did it. I was happy to serve as a junior partner on the sidelines here and, you know, cheerlead from the track. But to me, this is such a good example of how much broader than the 25 businesses that actually benefited here, but just how our businesses in Montgomery County have stepped up to this crisis. This was a few of them we helped businesses step up, but so many businesses that have stepped up, we didn't provide them any money or any funding or any real support, and they changed their operations overnight. The governor, you know, made the big announcement that went national about a large brewery in Baltimore making hand sanitizer, but we started that here in Montgomery County with our local breweries making hand sanitizer and changing their operations overnight. We were doing that first, and you know, I don't want to lose sight of that either. It also shows to me the value of all different types of businesses, because this was a crisis, and these were not the same type of business that turned into the same type of activities. These were all different types of businesses that changed their operations. And so the ecosystem matters. Smaller businesses can turn their operations faster than larger businesses oftentimes, but big businesses are needed to scale, you know, those type of, you know, industrial, you know, type of organizations. All that means is we get so caught up in this type of business or this size business or, you know, this, you know, particular industry of business. But what we need is a thriving ecosystem of different type of businesses that support the needs of our community and our economy. And, you know, this particular fund, I think, really is such a great snapshot into what Montgomery County is and can be from an economic perspective and from a talent perspective. And so I think, you know, not only is this a good story for these businesses, I think this is even a better story for, you know, what it represents more broadly for Montgomery County and the business community. And no better example of that is 73% being women and minority owned, just showing you where the creativity and ingenuity
is in many ways in Montgomery County's local businesses. I hope we take this, we bottle it up, and we share it like gospel, throughout the region and throughout the country, because I don't know that there's a better example of, what and who we are and what we're capable of in Montgomery County than this fund represents.
And let's expand on this. So, as Sarah mentioned, this really was building on work that we had started a number of years ago around our small scale manufacturing sector. And it gave us a chance to execute, with that vision, which I think we were more prepared to do than we would have been had we not already been developing ideas in that arena. It also, I think, as you're alluding to, shows that we can do more. We ought to keep going with this. We ought to keep building this. And I think before COVID, we were going to launch a small scale manufacturing council and, build some specific strategic programs for companies in this sector to work together, to network better, and, to become more successful. And, all that was sort of, it's slow to build these kinds of initiatives, but then COVID came and we started doing it without even, having the formal structure. Now it's time to return to that. So I'll invite Sarah and Ben to make any comments on that. But for Jean, let's book a PHED meeting. I don't know exactly when, this winter, spring, and let's come to that meeting with some specific recommendations. I certainly think in time for the budget this year, and figure out what we think is next for this important work. We had a report done. Alana Purse, prepared a report for us several years ago on small scale manufacturing. We've got some lessons learned. So I'll ask Ben and Sarah, do you have any thoughts on that?
We can move forward on that, sure.
Awesome, cool. All right, well, I think it would be fun to get the gang together and say, small scale manufacturing was a win. It was a significant element of the county's COVID response, and let's keep going. All right, good. Thank you. Let's keep going through the packet. Gene?
Sure. The next program is the Mcedc implemented telework assistance program. As the staff report notes, the council bill that created the public health emergency grant program also created this grant for telework expenses for businesses to pivot to remote operations during the early stages of COVID-19. Unfortunately, due to how the program was implemented, the businesses also needed to show significant financial loss in March in order to be eligible for the telework assistance program, which was not the intention of the council. So this created the program for the MCDC to administer with very similar or exactly the same criteria as was intended through the PHED program, to receive assistance up to $2,500 or $2,500 for specific telework expenses to help businesses pivot again to remote operations. EDC did a rolling random lottery for about a month, about 30 days, received 714 applications, about 550 were funded or approved, and close to $1 million, or a little more than $1 million, was provided directly to businesses to help support this program. And again, I'll turn it over to MCDC if they have any other additional information that they want to share.
Thank you, Gene. Now, this program was important because as you recall, back in the early stages of the pandemic, we had to shelter in place. And so as a consequence, a number of businesses had to work remotely in order to maintain a constant connection, not just with their clients and their customers, but also their employees too. And for small businesses, the hardware, software, and accessories needed in order to maintain that connectivity that was so important to continuity of operations was something that they had to procure. And so this fund was designed to assist those small businesses with the ability to stay connected. And we were asked by the county executive to undertake this program. And as a consequence, we had to work very closely with the county executive and the executive branch because, as Jean mentioned, telework reimbursement was actually part of PHED. And so we needed to work closely with them as a complementary program, also to ensure that there were no redundancy in some of the expenses. So we want to thank the executive branch for the work that we shared with them towards that effort. Originally, the appropriations for the Telework Assistance Fund was $250,000. And so when we put forth the application, we were inundated with applications. And as a consequence, they were seeking over $800,000 from the initially appropriated $250,000 fund. And so that was when the county council approved an additional $1.25 million for the program. And so bringing total for telework assistance program to $1.5 million. And so we were able to turn around the funding in several weeks. And for the EDC, we recognize that it's important to be able to expeditiously put the money in the hands of those who need it the most. And so in these programs that we've been asked to administer, really it's an all hands on deck exercise in which we try to collectively take all the personnel and support that we have within our organization to be able to turn around the funds as quickly as possible. Also, another underlying principle that we have is to ensure that we have the outreach necessary, especially to reach underserved communities. So we aggressively go out to the ethnic media as well as other sources, working closely with the regional service centers, working with the chambers and other external organizations to make sure that people are aware of these funds. And I want to commend Bill Tompkins, Stacey Hardy, and the team for really taking the time to ensure that we have as strong an application process as possible, and also for working so hard to ensure that we turn around the funds as quickly as possible to those who need it the most. So let me turn it over to Bill.
I think Jean and Ben have said it all. So
almost all. The only thing that was missing was Councilmember Friedson's role in creating this fund. But absolutely, I recall the history there as being very much involving Mr. Friedson.
Absolutely.
I'm pleased to see the results here. I know that we'd had some funding left over, but this was 3/4 of a glass full here. We got more than 550 grants out. This is great. So exciting. Bill and then Andrew.
I have nothing else to say.
Okay, Andrew.
Just answer your questions.
Yeah, I'll just add that originally the funding was $250,000, and then the council added an additional $1 million on top of that to supplement that, so to make a total of $1.5 million. At the time when we informed you about the application rate, it seemed like it was possible that demand was there, but I think what ended up happening was that we had done our outreach so aggressively that it tailed off towards the end. And so that allowed for some surplus funds to be reallocated to other business assistance programs like the 3R initiative. So, but the demand was clearly there initially, early on. And the fact that, within, I think the first week or so, we had already received $800,000 in applications out of the $250,000 allotment was demonstrable of the fact that the demand was there.
Yeah, good program. Andrew.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I also think it's a really positive. And a couple things just for the background of this. Originally, when the council was working on the public health emergency grant program, I had authored that, and we had included teleworking as part of that package. When the legislative drafting process, there was a
a thought of why don't we just include them both into the same process? And no good deed goes unpunished, because then when the process took hold, it became very clear that the type of business that needs a telework grant is a very different type of business than one that might qualify for the loss provisions, the significant loss provisions in March that were required, and that there really isn't the same level of administrative burden for backup paperwork to show loss as to show teleworking expenses. And so this became a conversation that the executive branch and I had. Ultimately, they were overburdened, and thankfully, MCEDC was willing to step up in order to take this on, because we knew that we had something that could work, that there was a lot of interest in, but we didn't want to get it caught up in the bureaucracy. The Public Health Emergency Grant Program also was taking a really long time to get off the ground, and we didn't want it to be caught in that as well. And so this really was able to step in and provide significant amount of benefit to a lot of businesses to avoid the type of losses that and shutting down that was needed. Just a modest amount of help and support, but one that I think went a really long way for a lot of businesses to transition to this kind of new transitional normal that existed. So we added the money, which I think was a good idea, and I think just showing that you can do things, you can assess them in the middle of a crisis, and you can adapt to what the reality is. We did adapt. We appropriated a little bit more. We were trying to hit the nose to make sure we weren't leaving any business out that was eligible and wanted to apply. We overshot it slightly. I would rather overshoot it than undershoot it slightly, since we knew there was more need for more things than we had. And then we worked together to repurpose the additional funding to make the 3R program happen. So that didn't need to be new money. So, one, I think this shows the adaptability. Two, I think it shows that different businesses need different things, and we have to provide that as best as we can, that not every grant process should be the same and requires the same things. And three, I think, we shouldn't be afraid to do something, and then we shouldn't also be afraid to quickly recognize that perhaps there's more there than is needed, and to repurpose those funds very quickly, very efficiently, to make sure that it's going to where it's needed. So I think there's a lot of really good lessons in this particular program, not just the 547 businesses that received about $2,000 to help them transition at a really challenging time, but also the way that we can, quickly see something that didn't work exactly as we wanted to bring in the support that we need in order to help, to be able to share the burden across partners, to get programs out to folks who need it, and then to quickly repurpose and adapt our efforts to make sure that it is actually accomplishing what we do. We shouldn't have to wait for meetings like these to determine what worked, what didn't work for next time. We can make changes in real time and make sure that we're actually administering programs that are doing what we intended them to do. And I think we did that here. And I think that you all deserve a lot of credit at MCEDC for setting a model, really, for how efficiently grant programs can get out the door, and how straightforward application processes can look. I think that that's a model that I'm hoping that we can really take more of in and around county government as well.
I concur with that. I think MCEDC's effective administration of these programs was sort of like light breaking through the clouds. I mean, we were having so many issues, and then to find a model that is working, it meant a lot to everybody. So, thank you for the terrific work that you did, and the smart design, and again, effective administration that you brought.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important to note, though, that we were building off of previous work, and so we were able to
have lessons learned, right?
Practices, and so and also I should add that the county executive and executive branch team were more than helpful in trying to assist us as we try to come up with our own process.
Well, I thought, yes, and to your point, they may have been the ones who asked you to administer it. I mean, I think it was it's a win for everybody. It's also just that, again, it's a testament to the value of your independent nonprofit status and the various skills that you can bring to the table. And so I thought it was a win-win for everybody. It made the county look good, and certainly it worked. So, all right, let's keep going.
And sorry, and to point out, almost 60% women-owned and minority-owned businesses here. And there was a particular concern about this because the idea of teleworking is a type of business that was seen by some as being less likely to have, that type of diversity, because these are more, thought of as office type of, jobs as opposed to service-based type of jobs. And it, again, just reflects, we didn't put up restrictions or administration to do that. That's who needed the help. That's who $2,500 grant to provide some modest help to take on these expenses, who might not otherwise have had those expenses. Those are the folks who needed them. Almost 60% women-owned and minority-owned businesses. So, again, a great story to tell, reflective of who we are, what we are, and what we can be. And this is a really good example as well. And I wanted to make sure that particular piece was noted.
Great.
All right, well, 2 more to go. For the next one we have is the 3R initiative. For those that may not remember, I believe the 3R stood for reopen, relaunch, and reimagine. This was a program or an initiative created by the EDC, and the council supported at $500,000. The EDC was able to raise private money to also support the program at $250,000, at least when the funding was approved by the council. And then also, as noted in the packet, after applications were received, a need was shown, the council supported the use of $400,000 from the restaurant relief grant funding that came from the state to fully support all of the businesses that had applied for this program, because many of the businesses that applied were also restaurants. And so the total program ended up being, at least for direct grants, close to $1 million. Average grant was $5,000 per business, and the 206 businesses were approved, 198 had been funded, all 206 will be funded. There's, again, some gap here given the timing to get the information out. And again, I'll turn it over to the EDC if they have anything else they wish to share.
Thank you, Gene. Now, this program is a year-long initiative that was designed to try to assist the restaurants and retail establishments in the county that have been devastated by the pandemic from an economic perspective to reimagine how they could reopen. And so this program was designed to be supported on a lot of levels. And in a sense, this is exactly the type of program that the EDC was created to try to undertake. It's a public-private initiative. We were able to receive funding from external sources, most notably PEPCO, and then consequently, PEPCO then provided additional funding through the Exxon Foundation because they saw where the project was going. And with the county's initial $500,000 appropriation and also money that came out of the Mcedc budget, we were able to create an initial $1 million funding project. And the initiative was designed to be a pilot project that allowed for retail corridors and establishments with a variety of new resources that could help them reimagine and relaunch. And we worked with Street Sense, located in Bethesda, to help develop some of these projects and components, and they include the MoCo Marketplace as well as a number of other activities that we'll be undertaking. But for the grants, we were able to offer a series of grants to restaurants and retail. And we did not discriminate from applicants from all around the county. We did want to be transparent and note that we were going to focus in terms of the placemaking component on some targeted quarters. But we received grants from all across the county, which we were able to fully disperse. And these grants were designed to be complementary to both reopen as well as the restaurant relief grants for the restaurants that were eligible. And so this was a program that we expect and hope will have some significant impact, especially in the placemaking around the county. But it's also a complementary program to a number of the programs that already existed, so that we could provide resources and business assistance grants to restaurants as well as retail in other areas as well. Sarah has taken the lead for us on the 3R initiative, and I'd like to give her a chance to say a few words as well.
Thank you. One of the things I just want to mention that distinguishes 3R from some of the other relief programs, and this goes back to the conversation we had earlier in this meeting about reopen. And we were very excited about the possibility of the reopen program. And we also then this summer, as it became clear that it was not as highly subscribed as we would have imagined either, that's why with 3R, we took a little bit longer to announce our grant program, because we actually then did a customer service survey with the professionals at StreetSense, because we were thinking, well, maybe we need to rethink what we're going to support for these businesses. And it turned out that the businesses obviously do what they're on. And the customers overwhelmingly, by the time the survey was done in, say, August, it was like the end of the summer, no matter what, they were hugely committed to online shopping and not going into restaurants and retail. And even they were a little hesitant to do outdoor dining as well. And so I think that kind of explains a little bit of what was happening, so that we were able to, with our grants, offer things that were complementary to reopen and other programs, but really focused on a few items that were hugely important to our restaurants and retail, which included helping with delivery fees, so that what, Grubhubs and all of those fees that happen, we were able to help offset those costs. We were also able to help offset inventory. We hadn't gotten to rent yet, that happens later, but some of those other fees related to just an online presence seemed to be paramount importance. And so once we were able to say that that's what the grants went to, as Ben says, we've got through all of our money really quickly and then had to come and ask for some more. So I think we were really able to hone in on what some of the businesses needed, given the quick nature of how things changed over the summer.
Excellent. Yeah, I think this was really well designed. I kind of grew out of the Business Recovery Task Force that we convened in the very early stages of the pandemic. It may be something we want to look at, I think, refunding or reestablishing. There may be some new iterations of this. Good work. All right.
Okay, I guess we'll move on to the last one, which was the restaurant relief program. And we've kind of already spoken about this one a little bit, but the state provided grant funding to all the counties for several things. One of them included in November was related to restaurant relief. The county received a little more than $8 million for this, but as already noted, $400,000 was used to fully fund the 3R initiative. Again, many of those businesses that received this money were restaurants, so it wasn't duplicative in any way. And so the EDC also administered this program and provided up to $10,000 or $10,000, excuse me, to all eligible applicants. And as also noted, there's a second round of funding for this exact same program that the council will see tomorrow during a public hearing action session to continue this great initiative. I will again turn it over to Mr. Wu if he has any additional comments on this program.
Thank you, Gene. This was a program that was provided by the governor through federal CARES funding reimbursement. And so we were asked by the county executive to undertake this program. And we're happy to do so because it complemented the 3R initiative and the work that we were doing there. The requirements, though, for the federal reimbursement at the time were that we needed to complete the program by the end of the year, which gave us a window of roughly about 3 to 4 weeks. And it was a significant undertaking, but especially with the need for restaurants to receive the money as quickly as possible. And so I want to compliment our team and Bill for helping to take the lead on that to ensure that we were able to fully expend the funding to meet the reimbursement deadline. And consequently, there will be another $5 million, $4.9 million provided for phase 2, which we will be having a hearing on Wednesday, I believe. So we can talk a little bit more about the specifics of phase 2. Okay.
Tuesday.
The days are coming by quickly, and so we can talk a little bit more about specifics of phase 2, which will be a little different than phase 1. But for phase 1, we provided $10,000 in assistance to the 793 applicants that were deemed to be eligible, and were able to get the money into the hands of those who needed it and dispersed by the end of 2020, the calendar year. So I'd like to turn it over to Bill for any comments that he may have.
Just a couple. We do have the information on women and minority-owned firms. We're still pulling it. Pulling this off at the end of the year was a little bit more challenging because we did work through Christmas and New Year's to get those checks done, and then had to turn around and are just finishing sending out over 1,100 1099s for tax purposes. So there's just a ton of work that goes on behind the scenes. So we're just a little bit behind on the final report, but because the new legislation is coming up, the deadline for the reporting has been extended. So we'll have that shortly, and we'll be ready for round 2.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll hear from you tomorrow. Andrew.
Yeah, it would be helpful, I think, to just get a preview of what the thoughts are, what the changes are to this next $4.9 million, $10,000 grants, and what the timing is expected for this, assuming there's full council approval, which I expectation.
Sure. So the big difference, first of all, for any new applicants, the process is exactly the same, $10,000 grants. But because that $10,000 went so quickly, and we had so many restaurants, 793, who needed that money badly, the plan for this current one is to set aside about 3.9 million of the 4.9 and issue them each an additional $5,000 in supplemental funding, assuming that they are still eligible, that they're in business, et cetera. And then $1 million for new applicants, and that process would be exactly the same as the first process. We will kick it off February the 1st, which is Monday, close it February the 10th, and our intent is to have the funds out by February 28th, but we're giving ourselves till March 15th because the turnaround time for processing it's not as easy as you may think it is, but those are the basics. And we can give you more detail if you'd like.
And it's the same eligibility, which so everybody knows was a very broad eligibility that the state allowed a restaurant, which we're calling it restaurant relief, but it's really food-based businesses.
Yeah, and I should clarify something, that if there are funds left over, let's say we don't have enough new applicants to use up that $1 million, then we will distribute that money to applicants who applied the first time. We'll add that to their $5,000 in supplemental funding.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, 793 applicants.
Would receive $5,000, an additional $5,000 automatically we will send them a notification, ask them to confirm that they are still a business.
So they'll effectively get 15,000 total.
That's correct.
2 tranches of restaurant relief, and then 1 million will go, and those will be eligible for up to 10,000 or up to 15,000.
Yes. So that's exactly the same as the first program.
Okay. And then
when they would be eligible.
Wouldn't it make sense for and maybe I misunderstood you, if there is if the new applications after giving out $10,000 grants does not meet the $1 million appropriation, shouldn't the new applications get up to 15,000 before the old one get?
Well, our feeling was that it makes the program a lot more complicated to both get the money out, to administer. It's not that simple, number one. And number two, we feel that for those restaurants who did apply at the time that we had the program open should be our focus. If you then go back and add money to those who applied the first time, we've got to go back and recalculate everything all over again. And it adds to the complexity of the program. But it doesn't mean that it's a...
So I'm just trying to understand. So if the 3.9 million is going to go towards giving up to 5,000 additional dollars for all of the 793
correct
people. Then there'll be $1 million remaining in this fund.
Yes.
That will go towards the acceptance of new applications between February 1st and February 10th.
Yes.
They will get up to $10,000.
Yes.
And then if there is money remaining after those two things have happened, the additional money goes to who?
To the phase 1 applicants.
So then they'll get above the 15,000.
If there's money left over, we think that $1 million will probably go. We'll be using a lottery system for that. And we are doing, again, very targeted outreach to minority and women-owned restaurants for this last tranche. I will say that for restaurants where English is not the first language, it's very challenging. And so the outreach is that much more challenging. And quite often, it's about knocking on doors, believe it or not, and helping businesses through the application process.
So what we're guided by our overarching principles that we want to make this as easy as possible for the restaurants and convenient as possible so that they're not overburdened by the application. We also want to make sure that we get the funds out as quickly as possible to the restaurants who need it the most. And additionally, we want to make sure that all of the $4.9 million that we were receiving for this phase 2 funding is fully expended so that the money goes to the restaurants, and then also subsequently there may be additional federal reimbursement that will be sought by either the state or the county. Because we're so close in time with the phase 1 applications, we wanted to be able to supplement the funding for the phase 1 recipients under the recognition that $10,000, while very helpful, the reality is not enough. And so even at $15,000, it may not be enough, but it will still be very helpful. So we'll offer a process in which we'll ask each of the restaurants to basically just confirm their eligibility, and then they would automatically receive a $5,000 supplement from their phase 1 funding. At 793 applicants at $5,000 per applicant, that is roughly about $3.9 million, which leaves another $1 million left in the phase 2 funding, of which then that $1 million would be the basis for new applications. Should there not be the 10 or 100,000 or 100 applicants rather at the $10,000 per applicant, then what we intend to do is to, in order to fully expend the funding, then to offer whatever remainder there is to the phase 1 applicants. And so phase one applicants will receive at least $5,000 and perhaps more, depending on whether or not there are enough applicants to exhaust the remainder of $1 million.
We do believe that we'll have more than 100 applicants, new applicants.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I think the likelihood of that you don't, it's less, it's 3.965 million, I think.
The reason, the reason.
So it'll be less. Some won't maybe qualify for the full 10,000, won't provide documentation. So maybe that doesn't happen, but it'll be less than $1 million. The likelihood that you don't have 100 new applications for a grant program like this, I think it's highly unlikely. I'm just still not, I mean, so I think that the likelihood that this will even happen.
We certainly invite as many new applicants as possible. We went out aggressively with ethnic media and also working with external stakeholders to make people aware of the restaurant relief grant phase one. We just did that just a few weeks ago. And so, we may or may not, depending on how, the applicants or applications go. We may or may not receive 100 new applications. We don't know. If we do, we'll be coming back to the council to inform you so that you can make a decision as to whether or not there may be additional appropriations in order to that. But we want to create a process in which we fully expend all the money. And so the supplemental beyond the 5,000 guards against the notion that we may be left over.
Yeah, but
So,
what I'm having trouble understanding.
Andrew, let me answer your question, because 2 points of clarification. The reason the numbers don't come out exact is that we already know of those who did receive money before, some of those restaurants are out of business. So we will have $1 million for new applicants coming from that source. The issue with if there is an overage for new applicants is more a bias on our side in terms of trying to be efficient, not because your approach would be wrong or there's anything wrong with that. But for those 100 applications, let's say that we approve that are new, if they share in additional funding, we've got to completely redo their calculations and start over. And so it just means it's that much more work for those 100 applications.
But why wouldn't you not have to do that for the old application?
Because we're not doing that until February the 10th. We will do 793 invoices beginning on February the 11th. And so those will be done all at one time, as opposed to a two-part process.
There'll be a full disbursement all at one time. So the calculations will be made for the supplementals and as for the new applicants as well.
So I'm genuinely asking, because I mean, one of your strengths is that you are able to move quickly, and so I don't want to. I understand that is part of the sense. When you are reviewing an application, are you just checking a box to say eligible for the full $10,000 or not? Or is the reviewer saying this business would be eligible for up to $12,893?
No, we found.
I mean, does that make sense? Because those would be two different things. I get what you're saying if you're just checking a box that says they satisfy the $10,000 maximum, and then you'd have to go back and say, okay, well, how much above the maximum would they actually qualify for?
What we learned from the first process was that if people asked for more, they did not. We asked them to break it down by category, but they didn't have to put the dollar amount for each category, except to demonstrate that they knew they could spend, and that was not required in the regulations. They could not exceed $10,000. So if one restaurant asked for $26,000, and so we just capped everything at $10,000, and we found that very few applicants were asking for less than $10,000, let's say $3,000, $7,000, $9,000. So we just approved them all at the $10,000 level because there was no real variation. If your question is if there are new applicants who need more than $10,000. I guess I'm inferring from what you're suggesting. Why wouldn't we consider that? Is that the question?
Yeah, I mean, I get the idea of saying we're going to go back to the folks who already applied and get them an extra $5,000. I think that makes sense. And then any new folks that come in at 10,000, that probably satisfies all the money. I could see that making sense. So you don't require the folks who already applied to apply again. You just, it makes it easier on everybody. What I'm not understanding is once you go through those two things, why you wouldn't say, okay, let's say there's $250,000 left over. Why you wouldn't just distribute that to everybody, both the.
As I said, just streamlines the process. It makes it easier for us. It doesn't mean we can't do it or there's anything wrong with doing that. It's just one more step in the process. That's all.
The council passed appropriations for the phase 1 funding, limited the applicants to up to 10,000. So we couldn't provide any more than 10,000 in the phase 1. So that was the new applicant maximum threshold.
No,
I think, yeah, Andrew's question is what we talked about the other day. We anticipated that this question may come up, and it's just a question of being more efficient and streamlining it as opposed to taking that extra step for new applicants.
Yeah, the reality is there's no right way or wrong way to do
Right.
it. There are many ways to do it. We chose to do it the most expeditious way and also to make it as clear as possible. I mean, the reality is we may not have that significant amount of remainder. And so it may be a relatively de minimis amount, especially if we dilute it to not just the 793, but then the new applicants as well. So it was just the choice that we made in terms of trying to make the administration as much more efficient and as clear as possible.
Yeah, we'll go by whatever you all choose.
But yeah, but there is no, your suggestion is not something.
Yeah, I'm just trying. I mean, I'll tell. I mean,
I'm not opposed.
I'd be interested to hear what the chair thinks. I think we'll noodle on it and sleep on it, and we can have further conversation certainly tomorrow and come up with a resolution.
Sure.
Either way, I think they'll do it well, and I appreciate the fact that you want to make sure that you can both administer it effectively and efficiently and fairly. And there are a lot of ways to land on how to do that, and we can work through that. But I appreciate you walking through the thought process and what the expectations are. I don't know if the chair has thoughts here.
No.
That's all I got. So
Okay.
I'm yielding back. Thank
right.
you for that. This was very helpful to me going into tomorrow.
Great. Thank you for getting all that out there. And we'll, lots of points to continue developing as we finalize this next round. All right. I think we should break now. Just want to quickly mention before we go, I have shared this with Mcedc, but New York has a very interesting model of providing networks of, guidance, basically, not necessarily legal advice, but guidance for restaurants in their struggles with their leases or retail and their struggle with their leases. And, I think that's a growing issue. And I'm really interested to see if we can replicate that kind of approach here. And I know we're going to be following up separately to kind of talk it through, but so many of these small business owners have landlords who have so far not been willing to budge, and I think to the extent that we can provide some kind of guidance about how they can think about dealing with that situation, it's going to be very helpful. So we're going to be following up on that separately.
Sarah, you're still there. That is included in phase 3 of the 3R program. Correct?
No.
Something along those lines.
Could be, I think, is.
We're going to talk about it next week. There is a piece that might be, but it's not to the extent that Councilman Reamer has described.
Okay.
All right. So we'll talk it through. All right. Well, great conversation. Thank you, Councilmember Friedson. Appreciate, as always, your detailed work here. And thank you, MCEDC. Terrific job. Really been so valuable as a partner to the county. Gene, thanks for doing this work. That was a lot of information to pull together. But I think we've got a really good follow-up now to take this to the next step. So thank you. All right.